Welcome to Unforbidden Truth. I'm Andrew. This is part one of a two-part interview with Indiana spree killer Johnathan Cruz. Johnathan Cruz, known as the Purge Killer, went on a 4-day robbery spree from May 12th to the 15th in 2015. During his robbery spree, he shot and killed 3 men, Billy Boyd, Jay Higginbotham, and Jose Ruiz in Indianapolis, Indiana. Cruz had sent a text message to somebody saying, and I quote, "Since I'm dying, I'm purging every day now." Cruz was not in fact dying. However, he was having issues with the rival gang, which he claims is why he said he was dying, as he thought he would be murdered by the rival gang. Johnathan Cruz pled guilty to the 3 murders to avoid the death penalty and received 3 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole, plus 16 years. His co-defendants, Stephen Clark, aka Rayvon Wood, turned state's evidence and was convicted of the crimes as well, receiving a 16-year prison sentence. Cruz's second co-defendant, Elijah Brooks, received a 14-year prison sentence for his role in the crimes. Here's part one of my interview with Indiana spree killer Johnathan Cruz.
Hello, this is a prepaid call from
It's a little sad.
an inmate at the Indiana Department of Corrections, Wabash Valley Correctional Facility.
My name is Johnathan Cruz. I'm originally from Florida, but I caught my case in Indianapolis.
Can you recall any positive memories that stick out to you from your childhood?
I guess, with my mom when I was younger, like Christmas before she got addicted to drugs, and maybe when I was real young in Florida, like going to the beach and shit.
What about any negative memories that stick out to you from your childhood?
There's a lot of those. I mean, after my mom got addicted to drugs, remember I used to come home and like there'd be needles in the front yard, and I don't know, there's just so many negative memories. My house caught on fire when I was like 5. We became homeless. And then she got sent to prison. I moved to Florida. And, grew up in Miami in the hood, so there was a lot of murders and robberies and shit going on in the neighborhood. My dad was real fucked up. Like, he used to abuse me every way but sexually, so, I mean, I can go on and on about negative memories.
You mentioned the abuse. Can you detail some of the abuse that your father put you through as a child?
I don't know, like he was weird. Like he wanted me to be in the military, so it mainly happened when he was drunk. He's an alcoholic, and he kind of is a severe drug user sometimes. He blames it all on his back because his back is fucked up. So like I remember he liked to publicly shame me, like in front of all my friends in the neighborhood. Like he would like tell me to do push-ups or sit-ups and shit in front of everybody if I wouldn't do it. Like he would threaten to beat my ass with shit, or like he used to wake me up at like 1 o'clock in the morning on a school night and like force me to work out. Like he was obsessed with my body being built with muscle and shit. And he made me join this military program, and if I didn't excel in that, then he would beat my ass. He used to make me do weird shit like follow people around the neighborhood at night, and if I got caught, he would beat my ass. Or like sometimes he'd make me climb up trees and write down what the neighbors were doing. And I thought it was so weird, but he wanted me to be like a black op, like special operations in the Marines and shit like that. So he would, in his mind, the better I got at doing shit like that, then the better I would be in the military. But then I ended up being a criminal, so all the things that he taught me I used to be a criminal, which made me good at being a criminal, but not what he wanted. So I don't know, it's kind of crazy.
So were both your mother and father present throughout your childhood?
My mom was a great mom until my grandpa died. Like, she was perfect. And then her friend got her strung out on heroin, and then she basically was gone all day. I used to run around alone most of the time when I was like real young. And then she got sent to prison, and then I got sent to my grandma's house, and she's a real strict Catholic, and she could not deal with me at all. And then eventually she made my dad come from Florida and get me. And then I went to my dad. I stayed at my dad for a few years. Then I went to foster care. And then I got charged as an adult and got sent to prison and didn't get out of prison until I was 18.
So what was your behavior like at home growing up as early as you can remember?
I mean, I don't know. It was like, I don't know. Like, what do you mean? Like behavior, like good or bad?
Like, yeah, like how did you behave at home, growing up as early as you can remember?
I mean, I was curious. I consider myself like real curious about everything. When I was young, I wanted to be an archaeologist. So I liked doing that. Like I liked looking at fossils and shit to do with other cultures. Like I would try to find things, but like I wasn't really bad, but everything was so strict around me. So when I became bad, I became extra bad because now I had a little bit of freedom. I mean, I really couldn't be bad because they would just beat my ass. So like I just tried to follow all the rules as possible. So I don't know. I consider myself pretty good when I was really young.
What about your behavior in school? What was your behavior like in school, more so your middle school and high school years?
Well, high school, I was locked up all high school years. In middle school, again, I was pretty good. I didn't really get in too much trouble. Like, I got into a few fights and shit like that, but I didn't really get into too much trouble. I really was decent. Like I said, I just really wasn't trying to get in trouble. My education, like I scored very well on tests, but I didn't like doing no like schoolwork because I don't know, it was so boring to me. So the teachers didn't understand that I would get bad grades, but I would get good grades on tests because I didn't want to do none of this stupid ass work. But when I took tests, I got graded well. So, I mean, they knew I was smart, but I guess I was just lazy. I guess the best way to put it.
Did you finish high school in jail or prison then?
No, when I got locked up in prison, they didn't really teach us nothing. Like we would go to school and most of the classes, they would ask us what movies we want to watch. And everybody in class wanted to watch movies like Ghetto Stories or Baller Blocker or Shadas, which you probably don't know what those are, but those are just like hood movies. It's all about sex, money, murder, drugs, gangbanging. So that was like our education in there. We just watched shit that was fucked up. So mostly everybody that I was locked up with, they all were killed or sent back to prison like years after we got out. Like that was just our education. There was only like maybe 2 teachers that actually taught us things.
So let's talk about your criminal activity as a juvenile. Can you talk about the criminal acts you committed as a juvenile?
It started off mostly burglaries, like armed burglaries and regular burglaries. Like I got a lot of those real quick. I've always been the type of person that I do things and I do things in a big way. Like, I don't know, like I got an addictive personality. So started off as mostly like a lot of burglaries, and then I started carrying guns while I do burglaries, and then home invasions and shit like that with other people. And then when I got locked up, we had a riot, and it was in Avon Park, Florida, and we took over the whole facility, caused $400,000 worth of damage. They had to call the military and the SWAT team and shit. So they charged 61 of us and put us on the news and all that shit. And they gave me like 8 felony counts, but they charged me as an adult. So at 15, I was already a convicted felon, and I really didn't know what the fuck that meant at the time. So they automatically locked me up. When I was 18, they had like production of contraband in a state facility, smuggling contraband in a state facility, trafficking contraband in a state facility, inciting riots, grand thefts, burglaries, destruction of property. It's like all this shit was felony counts. So like I said, I did from 14 to 18, I was locked up in maximum security correctionals. And then when I was 18, I got out. And yeah, from 18 to 19 and a half, I was out. 19 and a half, that's when I caught these 3 murders and robberies and all that other shit.
Did you engage in any criminal activity prior to the 3 homicides and robberies as an adult?
Oh, yeah, I ain't gonna lie. I would say from 12 to 18, and 12 to 19 and a half when I got locked up, that was just all criminal activities.
Were you arrested and convicted for anything prior to the 3 homicides that you did time for, whether it was jail or petty prison time?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I had, 9 convicted felonies already on my record. So when I got out and tried to get jobs and shit like that, I'm not a convicted felon because I'm thinking that it's on my juvenile record, but I'm already a convicted felon as an adult. So when they try to give me jobs, they're looking me up and seeing felony, and no one's hiring me. And I don't know that's why, but now that I got locked up, I know that's why nobody hired me.
So let's talk about the crimes you're in prison for now. You're serving 3 consecutive life sentences for the murders of 3 individuals in Indianapolis. Can you walk me through each murder in chronological order, starting with Billy Boyd?
Billy Boyd, that's the black guy. All right, so basically we were just out robbing people like I normally do. That's what we do. We just sell drugs and rob and gangbang. That's basically just what we do all day, every day. After I couldn't get a job, that's what I did constantly all day, every day. So that was just another normal day. And the first guy, Billy Boyd, I saw him walking and told him to stop the car, and we hopped out. And shit, I crept up behind him and I put a gun on him to his head, and he turned around and looked at me, and I told him, to empty his pockets. And I think he was drunk, but he told me, fuck you, cracker, or I'm not giving you shit, cracker, something along those lines. Basically, I feel like he just looked at me, I'm this white dude, I don't really look like I'm on shit. And I got this gun on him, so he just looked at me like I was like a bitch or something. And he told me he wasn't giving me shit, and then turned around and started to walk away from me. And that just flipped the switch on me, and I was mad. So I just shot him, and then we went through his pockets, and there was nothing even in his pockets. So I didn't, now that I'm older, I realized that was one of the stupidest things ever, because not only did I basically take his life for no reason, he had no reason to resist the robbery. He didn't have nothing. He should have just cooperated with the robbery. Later on that night, after we robbed probably about 8 or 9 more people, we was on the way home, back to the place where we sold drugs at. It wasn't home, but we was on the way back there, and I seen this white guy walking. So I thought to myself, fuck it, this is going to be the last robbery tonight. And I hopped out on him. And when I hopped out, I didn't immediately, pull a gun on him or nothing. I hopped out, and I was he said, damn, why did y'all pull up like that, or something like that? What are you doing? Why'd y'all pull up like that? So, he came off aggressive, though. So I don't know exactly how it went, but as aggressive as he pulled up, I was this nurse is here, but you want to press pause? This nurse is walking.
Okay, yeah, we can pause for now.
Yeah, I know where we left off at. This fucking lady was supposed to be here an hour and a half, but she takes her sweet ass time. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, hell yeah, I take medicine. I just started taking it for post-traumatic stress disorder and bipolar disorder and I don't even know what disorders I got after those, but those are the main two things.
Oh.
So basically, it's just like medicine that I just started taking it a few months ago because I haven't really took any medicine since I've been locked up. And it works, though. It helps me calm down. When I hear really loud noises, it makes my blood start to flow and I get pissed off. So when I take my medicine, though, I can hear a whole bunch of loud noises and it won't make me mad.
Oh, that's good.
That's all I really look for. When I'm out of Southfield, if I'm in general population, I hear loud ass noises like people are screaming or banging on shit. Like I'll sit there and then eventually I'll say something and I always get into fights because I'm just aggressive and I'll be like, hey, stop fucking banging on the table. And we're in prison, so everybody's got to be macho and shit. And they say something, and then I punch them in the mouth, and then we'll fight, and then we both get right up, and it's just stupid.
Right. That would suck.
I'd rather not go through all that.
Yeah.
Here goes this fucking... Man, these women here really be pissing me off. I just don't be saying nothing. They're fucking crazy, man.
The nurses and stuff?
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I seen this white guy walking, and I decided this was going to be the last robbery for the night. And when I hopped out on him, he said, like, why did y'all pull up like that or something? But there was a lot of aggression to his voice. So it kind of made me mad at the same time. But I didn't pull out my gun or nothing. So basically, I just asked him, I'm like, you got any money on you? And he's like, no, I don't got any money on me. So I'm like, well, let me get your money. And he's like, I got a gun. So I kind of studied him for a split second because I'm like, okay, he said he got the gun. Well, I want that gun now, because I like guns too or shit. So then I put my hands up. I'm like, oh, man, I'm sorry. And I turned to walk away like I was getting back in my car. But instead, I pulled my gun out and pointed my gun at him before he could even react. And so now he could, even if he did have a gun, he couldn't pull it out. Otherwise, I would shoot him. So I had my gun pointed at him. And I'm like, slowly take your gun out of your waistband and throw it on the ground. So now he's like, I don't got a gun. I'm like, you just fucking told me you had a gun. He's like, no, I don't got a gun. So now I'm thinking to myself, like, I don't know if he has a gun or not. So I can't let him walk away because if I let him walk away and he does have a gun, he can duck behind these cars and open fire on me, So now him being there without me knowing what he has on him is a liability to my health, So I don't really know what to do at that point, so I'm like, listen, I'm not going to keep asking you, like, put your gun down or lift up your shirt, whatever, empty your pockets. So he keeps telling me he don't have a gun and he doesn't have no money. So then he starts turning around and looks like he's about to run, like he's eyeballing what's behind him. And I can't let him run, period. He's already seen my face and he says he had a gun. So I told him, I'm like, listen, I will shoot you if you run. I'm not playing with you. Like, I will shoot the shit out of you. Don't run. And he did not listen to much of that. He started turning around to run, and I opened fire on him. And I think I shot him like 5 times. Like 4 was in his upper body, and then 1 skimmed off his shoulder. And he still ran, even though I just shot him 5 times. He still ran. He didn't run very, very long, though. He probably ran like, 15 feet. And when I seen him drop, I knew, you don't just take 5 gunshots and, live. So I ran up to him and I grabbed a hold of his shirt and I flipped his body around. And I knew he was dead, because when you're dead, all your muscles relax. So when I flipped his body around, his neck snapped around and his head smacked against the concrete really hard. And I'm like, fuck, shit. And he's already starting to pull blood out. So I immediately pull up his shirt and search his waistband. He don't have no fucking gun. So I'm like, why the fuck did he even, like, you know, like, he's trying to scare me saying he has a gun, and that didn't scare me at all. So that was trying to, so then I feel his pants, he doesn't have no pockets, but I feel a bulge where his pocket should be. So I'm like, what the fuck? So I look at his waistband again. He's wearing 2 pairs of pants. So I pull the first pair down and feel around his pocket, and there's a big ass wad of money. It was like I don't know, like $1,500, $1,600, and then the other pocket had a $1 pack of cigarettes. So I'm like, that don't even make sense. But anyways, I got back in the car and we pulled off, and you know, I grabbed probably like half the money and split it between people in the car. You know, because I mean, the way I see it is everybody got paid, then nobody can tell. You know, because unless you go right to the police and say, hey, I just seen some guy get murdered while we were doing a robbery. This is the money I made. You know, like, if everybody's getting paid off a robbery, it's going to deter you from going to tell. So anyways, then, I don't know, it was like 3 or 4 days later, after I already bought a new gun and shit, we was out again robbing people. We had robbed people all day. We had robbed this other guy in the morning, and he started shooting at us, and I got shot in the leg, and my guy that I was robbing, he got shot in the wrist. But he didn't die, of course. But they failed to mention that in the news. But anyways, we had robbed a couple other people that day. None of them got shot or killed. They all cooperated with the robberies. So later on that night, it was like, I'd say 1 o'clock in the morning. Well, we were walking the blocks. I kept seeing this car following us. Like, I kept seeing the same car. And in my mind, I'm thinking, because we were beefing with this gang that was on the street called Bradley Street. They would come at night and try to shoot us. Like, you know, they would do drive-bys on us. So at night, sometimes I would go try to kill them, you know, like that's what we would do. Like, we would try to kill each other. I mean, that's just, I don't know how to explain it besides that. Like, that's just gang activity. So anyways, I keep seeing this car, like, follow us around, and I'm like, man, fuck, like. So I tell my guy, I'm like, listen, I'm about to go post up behind these trash cans, and if I see a gun come out the window, I'm just going to start shooting the car. But if the car pulls up, like, you know, just see what's up. So I go hide behind the trash cans, and the car pulls up, and the window rolls down, and I was about to start shooting at this car, but no gun comes out. So my guy goes up to see whoever the person was once, and I stand up and go from beside the trash cans, and he starts laughing when he's walking up, and I'm like, bro, what's funny? And he's like, it's some Mexican guy. He's trying to, like, have sex for money. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, he thinks we're like male prostitutes. So I start laughing, but I'm like, bro, what? Like, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, and this guy's, like, following people around trying to get his dick sucked, you know? So he's like, so my guy's laughing and shit. Well, I'm like, go tell him that you're my pimp, and I'm, you know, like, see how much money he got. So he's like, I'm not doing that. I'm like, bro, go do it, bro. Stop being scary, you know? So he goes, talks to him, he comes back. He's like, he wants to talk to you. And I told him that I'm, you know, basically like your protection. So this is really a crazy, funny story, actually. But I go to the car, and I try to sound kind of gay. Like, I'm not going to mimic the voice, but I'm playing this to the part, you know. So I kind of trying to sound gay and young. Because I already look young, you know. I'm fucking 19. I don't have no facial hair. You know, I look like I'm 16 probably. And and again, in the gay voice, and I'm like, listen, I don't like going in the cars without him, and da-da-da-da, and he's like, well, I got a couple $100, and I'm like, you know, I'm only 16. He's like, yeah, I don't care. He's like, are you trying to make some money or not? So I'm like, okay, but I want him to go in the back seat. So I get in the front of the driver's seat, not the driver's seat, but the passenger seat. And as I'm getting in the passenger seat, I'm already pulling this big-ass .357 out of my waistband. So as I sit down in the passenger seat, I automatically put the gun in his face. So the gun's, like, right on his cheek. But it's really dark outside. So he drops his phone, and his phone's the only thing lighting the car. So I tell him to take his keys out the ignition and don't reach for nothing, like don't reach for anything fast, because I'm paranoid. If he reaches for anything, I'm going to shoot, because we're in close quarters. I can't take a chance of him reaching for anything and shooting me. So he listens halfway. The phone's lighting up the car. I can see his face and his hands. He takes the keys out the ignition with one hand, with his right hand, but his left hand, he makes a dart for underneath his seat. And as soon as I see him dart his hand, I shoot him, and the bullet hits his face, and yeah, so he automatically was like, for instance, I thought the bullet was going to go through his cheeks, it wasn't a headshot, it was pointed at his cheeks, so I thought maybe the bullet was going to go through his cheek, and he was just going to be really hurt. But anyway, so as soon as I shoot, my guy, he's in the back seat, he runs out of the back seat and takes off running, because he just got shot earlier today while we were committing robberies, so now he's a little skittish. So he just takes off fucking running, and I want the guy car, I want the car, I want whatever he's reaching for, and I need the money. So I get out the car and go back to the other side of the car and open the driver's seat, and the first thing I do is I look underneath the seat to see what this guy was reaching for, and it was a 25 caliber nickel-plated handgun, semi-automatic. So I'm so he was reaching for a gun because he was going to try to shoot me with it. So I felt justified shooting him. So I take the gun and put that in my pocket, and then second thing I did was grab the keys, and then the guy started gurgling blood everywhere and shit, and there was just blood fucking everywhere, and I'm like, damn, man, I'm not trying to get this shit on my clothes and stuff. So I start trying to pull him out of the car, but this motherfucker probably weighed 250 pounds. He's a fat Mexican dude, and at this point, I'm thinking he's either already dead or really close to dying, because he's choking on his own blood, I think. So I can't pull him out the fucking seat. So the next thing I do is I just go in his pockets, and I find a couple $100 in his right pocket, and then I grab his wallet, and there's a couple $100 in the wallet. And I take that shit, and then I take his phone, and then I just run. And I ran a couple blocks, and I threw his keys and his phone. I just threw that shit, and then I run back to where we were staying at with the gun and the money and my gun, and the money has fucking blood all over it, so I had to clean the money off. But yeah, that explains them 3 murder robberies that I got called for.
So what type of feeling did you get during each of the shootings that took place?
I mean, I don't know how to describe that. Most of these are not my first time doing things like this. And most of the time that I do things like this, I don't really get no emotion from it. Sometimes I'll be mad, or sometimes I'll feel scared. That's why I do shit like this. Or when I'm doing these, I'll say gang shootings and shit like that, I guess sometimes I get an enjoyment out of that, because I know that they would kill me if they could, or they're trying to kill me. So if I could shoot one of them first, then I feel good, because it's I guess you can consider it if you're playing football and I get the first touchdown and everybody's yeah, I won, some shit like that. So when it comes to gang shit, if I'm getting the first shot off and I'm hitting my target, then I feel good because I won that match. But with these robberies and shit like that, my intention is not to go there and just shoot people. My intention is to come there and get what I came for and hopefully not have to shoot nobody. But it doesn't happen like that every time. In Indianapolis, I must have robbed probably a good 60, 70 people, all males. I don't like harming females or anything like that, so I don't rob women. I must have committed probably a good 7 or 8 home invasions, and majority of the time, nobody ever gets hurt. Sometimes I might have to shoot somebody in the leg or shoot next to somebody just to let them know that I'll shoot the gun, but most of the time, nobody gets hurt. So on these few occasions, though, people fucking don't want to cooperate with robberies, and I feel like they look at me, and, you know, I look like a little pretty boy back then, so they're like, oh, this fucking white guy is not about to shoot me, like, fuck him. And then I shoot them, and they're like, why did I say fuck him? I feel so stupid now. And then people don't really live through gunshots, then they die. And so I don't know. I don't really get enjoyment from that shit. I don't know how to explain it. Like, even when I came to prison and the first guy I stabbed in prison, he was a baby killer. He had killed either his kid or somebody else's kid and threw him in the garbage like they didn't mean anything. And when I was stabbing him, I was stabbing him all in his throat and his face and his head, and there was blood everywhere. But I didn't really feel nothing, you know, like, I don't remember really feeling nothing. Afterwards, I kind of liked being covered in his blood for some weird reason. I don't know the psychological part of that. I guess that's kind of weird, but, I mean, I didn't really get no enjoyment from it. I like the adrenaline rush. The adrenaline rush is nice. I've always been like an adrenaline junkie, but not no like, yay, it feels so good to do this. Like, you know, like it's nothing like that. So that's the only way I can answer that question, I guess.
So you said you were committing other crimes in between the murders, like home invasions and robberies. Were you committing any other crimes besides those two, home invasions and robberies? Like, were you shooting at anybody else that went unnoticed, or any other homicides that might have went unnoticed?
Trying to answer this carefully. All right, so the first question, yes, my whole time in Indianapolis, I came in Indianapolis from Florida in 2015 because I violated my adult probation in Florida, and I was not about to go back to prison there. So my mom was like, come up to Indianapolis. I haven't seen you in forever. I'm not in prison no more. At least you'll be able to see me before you get sent back to prison, you know. So came up to Indianapolis, and my first, I'd say 2 months, I was, you know, cool, calm, and collective. I was just sitting in the house smoking weed, linking up with females, having lots of sex, and just, you know, that's what I was doing. You know, I wasn't out committing crimes. But then my mom relapsed off of heroin, and we basically was about to be homeless. So my first reaction was to go find a gun and start committing crimes, because that's what I knew best. I knew how to rob and sell drugs and do shit like that. I was good at it. So that's exactly what I started doing. And I did that all day, every day, except for, I would say, the 2 months before my daughter was born, 2 or 3 months before my daughter was born, I tried to get a job. You know, I told myself, listen, like, I'm not taking a risk going to prison because I don't want to miss out on my daughter's life. So I put my gun up and I put all the drugs up. Well, I sold all the drugs that I had left, didn't buy any more. And I cut my hair off. I, was doing job interviews. I went to a temp service, which I don't know if that's what it's called in the same every state, but basically like you go there and they're technically like always giving out work. Like you get paid daily. And these people told me to call every day on Monday morning at 8 o'clock and to see if a spot was open. And I fucking did that for a month and a half and they never had a spot open. So the girl I was dating at the time, she was like bringing me food and shit, and it made me feel less of a man because I've always been the one to take care of females and have money and shit like that. So, like after so long of not being able to work and being taken care of by a female that she don't really have a job or nothing, so it's kind of was ridiculous to me. And that eventually I just got tired of that shit. My mom overdosed on heroin, and then I got shot in the arm, and I just really fucking just had enough, period. So, like, I just went and got...
You have 1 minute remaining.
I just went and got my gun and just went back to committing crimes, and I'll answer the second part of your question when I call back.
Okay. All right.
All right, so... Yeah, so basically, after that shit happened, all throughout that year and a half I was in Indianapolis, I was committing home invasions or hotel invasions. Like we would go to low budget hotels where there's a lot of crime and prostitution and shit like that, and we would do this thing, like I would knock on a door, and normally I had somebody else with me that was robbing shit with me, so it would be like me and one other person, and we both have guns, and we would knock on the door, and if anybody answered the door, then we would put a gun in their face and come in the hotel and, you know, make everybody get on the ground and just rob anything worth value in the hotel. Normally there would be drugs and money and sometimes guns, and we would do that a lot. Or we would get on Facebook and set up drug dealers on Facebook. Like we would post things like anybody got weed for sale or ice for sale, which is meth, or, you know, shit like that, or guns for sale. We would always find somebody that's trying to sell weed or guns or meth, you know, shit like that, and we'd meet up with them and then rob them. Sometimes it's funny because they're trying to rob us, you know. that I've had that happen a couple times. Things like that. As for shootings go, yeah, I went through a lot of bullets, like boxes and boxes and boxes of bullets. I used to shoot so much that I would have to sit there and fight somebody on purpose and videotape it just to show people that I did more than shooting, because I love fighting. I'm great at fighting. But honestly, like when I'm grown and I got guns, like what the fuck is the point of fighting, you know? Like I don't want to get dirty, you know, I want to keep my clothes clean and shit. So yeah, there was a lot of shootings. There's a lot of gang activity that would always get guns involved. Because, you know, nowadays people aren't fighting. This ain't the 80s, 70s, you know, people, fucking 14-year-olds are running around with guns shooting. So there was a lot of that. Yeah, I know there's a lot of times that I shot somebody. I'd say maybe a few times that somebody actually died that I know of, but we also did a lot of drive-bys. And a lot of times I was not fucking searching up what, you know, like I didn't want to see what happened when I shot. Like I didn't care. I had too much other shit going on. With these last three though, they were like they were so close around me that I needed to see what was going on, because one of the murders was across the street from my mom's house. The other one was 2 blocks away from where I was staying. So I had to, like, you know, and we still had the car, the same fucking car. So I needed to see, like, what the updates were on these murders and robberies. So, but that was my stupid ass decision. I should have never did that on my phone in the first place. So yeah, there was a lot of times. I mean, you could see that in my affidavit. They talk about several other shootings and all type of shit like that. So yeah, that definitely occurred a lot for a fucking year and a half. That's what I used to do when I was younger. I mean, it is what it is now. I'm fucking going on 30 years old. I don't brag about things. This is really the first time I've ever talked about it in a public platform. Like, I don't really discuss this shit because it's not that I'm not proud of it, but it's not that I'm ashamed of it. It's just I've committed so much crime and violence and the shit you see in movies. I did all that shit. So, like, I'm a grown-ass man. I'm getting older. I don't feel the need to brag about shit I've already done. That's something I hate about being in prison is you'll see all these guys, all they want to do is brag about how much sex they've had and how much money they got and how many times they've killed people and all this shit when none of them did none of that. You know, they're not out there fucking all these sexy women or making hundreds of thousands of dollars or catching all these murders. They're not doing none of that. And one of the reasons that you know they're not doing none of that is because they got to brag about it. You know, people that do things don't really brag about it all that much. So, I mean, yeah, that about sums up your questions on that topic.
That was part 1 of my interview with Johnathan Cruz. For extra content, ad-free episodes, and more, head on over to patreon.com/unforbidden truth. Thank you for listening. Catch you on the next one.